All right, everyone, welcome back. So today, we're going to jump into two really fascinating but totally different ways the body undergoes systemic change. On one hand, we've got the strange, pathological world of paraneoplastic syndromes, and on the other, the universal, physiological process we all go through, aging. We're going to break down the how, the why, and most importantly, how you can tell them apart in a clinical setting.
So let's kick things off with a real clinical head-scratcher, one that seems to defy all logic at first glance. Imagine you have a patient with a tumor in their lung, right? But their symptoms are all neurological. We're talking seizures, profound memory loss, maybe even psychosis. So how on earth can that happen? The cancer isn't in their brain. The answer to that question is really the key to our entire first topic.
Well, the answer lies in a really incredible phenomenon we call a tumor's remote effects. You see, these are consequences that happen far, far away from the actual tumor itself. And crucially, it's not because the cancer has spread in the way we usually think of metastasis. It's something else entirely.
Okay, let's look at the official definition. A paraneoplastic syndrome is a group of systemic effects, meaning they affect whole body systems, that are non-metastatic. This is the part I really want you to burn into your brain. The cancer cells themselves have not traveled to the site of the symptoms. Instead, the damage is being caused by weird substances that the tumor is just pumping out into the body. The best way to think about it is this. Picture the tumor as a rogue radio tower that's hijacked the airwaves. It's just blasting out all these false signals, things like hormones it has no business making, or bizarre antibodies, or inflammatory cytokines. These signals travel through the bloodstream and cause absolute chaos in distant organs, completely scrambling the body's normal communication networks.
All right, let's get into the high-yield stuff. You're definitely going to want to know these for your exams. We're going to walk through some of the classic clinical examples to see exactly how this plays out in the real world. Pay close attention to the patterns here, because they are key clinical clues.
Okay, this table right here, this is pure gold. Seriously, screenshot this, write it down. The first thing you should notice is small cell lung cancer showing up again and again. This tumor is notorious for being a little factory for trouble, especially making ectopic hormones. And ectopic just means a hormone is being made somewhere it shouldn't be. Normally, the pituitary makes ACTH, but here, the lung tumor does it, and you get Cushing syndrome. Same for ADH. The tumor pumps it out, causing SIADH and dangerously low sodium. We'll get to the others in a sec.
And boom, there it is, the answer to our opening puzzle. With anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis, it's often an ovarian teratoma, a type of tumor, that's producing antibodies. But these antibodies go on a search and destroy mission against NMDA receptors in the brain. The result? Severe psychiatric and neurologic chaos. So a tumor in the ovary is causing a devastating brain disease. It is the perfect, if not terrifying, example of a remote effect.
Now, for your exams, you absolutely have to know the difference between these two. Lambert-Eaton, often paraneoplastic from small cell lung cancer, is a presynaptic problem. The antibodies attack the calcium channels before the synapse, so you can't even release acetylcholine. Myasthenia gravis, on the other hand, is postsynaptic. The acetylcholine gets released just fine, but antibodies are blocking the receptors on the muscle. Here's a quick way to remember it. Lambert-Eaton affects the launch of the signal. Myasthenia gravis messes with the muscle's gateways. Presynaptic versus postsynaptic. Got it?
All right, so we've covered the wild pathological changes from tumors. Now let's completely shift gears and contrast all of that with a different kind of systemic change, one that happens to every single one of us, the inevitable physiological process of normal aging. This isn't a disease, it's just a predictable, time-dependent series of changes.
You see, right away, this is a whole different ballgame. Unlike a paraneoplastic syndrome from a rogue tumor, aging is a universal physiological decline. It's driven by a super complex mix of things, our genes, like the shortening of telomeres on our chromosomes, and all sorts of metabolic changes that just slowly but surely reduce our organs' functional reserve over time.
Let's take a look at the cardiovascular system. If you have to remember one word for what happens here with age, it's stiffness. The arteries get stiffer, so their compliance goes down and blood pressure goes up. The heart has to work harder against that stiffness, so the left ventricle might get thicker. Valves can start to calcify. Our max heart rate drops. The whole system just becomes more rigid.
And the nervous system? Well, it changes too. We do see a gradual decrease in brain volume and blood flow.
Our senses take a hit. Presbyopia is why people need reading glasses, and presbycusis is age-related hearing loss. But what's really incredible is that despite these physical changes, our cognitive function is largely preserved. The brain has this amazing ability to compensate.
We see a very similar story in the kidneys and the lungs. The key idea here is a decline in functional reserve. For the kidneys, we slowly lose nephrons, our little filtering units, so the GFR, glomerular filtration rate, predictably goes down. In the lungs, they lose their elastic recoil, they don't snap back as well, while the chest wall itself gets stiffer. That combination means we can't move as much air, which we see as lower FEV1 and FVC values on testing.
So what if we were to zoom all the way down to the cellular level? What's the evidence of aging there? Well, you'd see this stuff. Lipofuscin. It's famously called the wear and tear pigment. You can honestly just think of it as cellular rust. It's the junk, the byproduct of a lifetime of metabolism that the cell just can't get rid of. And over the decades, it builds up in organs like the heart and the liver. Okay, let's bring it all home now. We're going to synthesize everything into a clear, simple framework. This is what's going to help you tell these two processes apart, both when you're on the wards and when you're sitting for your exams. Let's make sure this sticks.
This table right here boils it all down. On one side, paraneoplastic syndromes. They are pathological. This is a disease. The cause is ectopic production. Something is being made where it shouldn't be. But here's the really big news. They are often reversible. If you treat the underlying cancer, the syndrome can actually go away. Now look at aging. It's physiological. It's normal. The cause is just a slow, time-dependent decline. And the outcome? Yeah, that's pretty much irreversible.
So what's the big final take-home message for you as a future clinician? It's this. When you have a patient, especially an older patient, who comes in with just strange, unexplained symptoms, you have to keep your differential diagnosis wide open. You have to ask yourself 3 questions. 1, is this just an expected change of aging? 2, is this a new primary disease? Or 3, could all of this be the remote effect of a hidden cancer? Always, always keep that third possibility in your mind, because being the one who thinks of it could be the key to the whole diagnosis, and it could absolutely save your patient's life.